Only 1% of golfers get to that elusive scratch handicap. So what is it that they do that other golfers don't? Now, obviously there are some things that scratch golfers do better just because they technically have a better golf swing. But what about that low-hanging fruit and things that you can kind of improve without necessarily working on your technique? And actually, there's quite a few of them. If we look at the ShotScope stats, scratch golfers hit 62% of greens. But not all of that comes down to their better ball striking. A lot of it comes down to awareness of what shot to hit and how to pick a good target. If we look at this shot here, we're on a big left to right slope. Looking at this, it's really easy to see my ball's going to bounce to the right, and I really don't want to be in that bunker because the pin is tucked to the right and I'm going to short side myself and give myself a really difficult chip shot. So the sensible thing to do here is to move my target to the left and aim further left and accept that it will bounce in near to that pin. Also part of this is that they just know their club distances better. So many golfers leave shots short of the green, which is really affecting your scores. So thinking about clubbing up and making sure you get that ball all the way back to the pin. Another thing is to look at your lie and how the lie is going to affect your shots. I'm on an upslope here. That's going to add loft to my golf club at address, which means the ball is not going to travel as far. So I should be even hitting even more club. We're also a little bit into the wind. There's all these elements that you can think about that's going to affect how close you can get that ball, and making sure you get the right club is going to be a huge factor in hitting that green in regulation. Making better club decisions, especially into the green, is really going to help you lower your scores. How often do you hole out from 6 foot? According to ShotScope data, scratch golfers hold this length of putt 94% of the time. Now, obviously there is a technical element to this, but a huge factor is how good you are at aiming and just how often you practice this length of putt. So if you want to get really good, working on this length and in your practice sessions is really key to lowering those scores. Forgot the flag. Scratch golfers simply don't 3-putt as often as you do. In fact, from 30 feet out, ShotScope data is showing us that scratch golfers get their first putt inside 5 foot. Now, if we compare that to 20 to 25 handicappers, typically they're leaving themselves over 7 foot to the hole with that second putt. Now, for every inch you get the ball closer in that short range, you have a 1% more chance of holing that putt. So leaving yourself an extra 2 foot away is almost dropping your chances of holing out in 2 by 20%. Now, scratch golfers only 3-putt once every 39 holes. If we compare that to players in that 20 handicap range, you're looking at 20% of the time they are on the green, they're 3-putting. That means you're giving up nearly 4 shots a round purely just on the greens. So if you want to get down to scratch, you really need to work on your pace putting. When they get out of position, scratch golfers are really good at not trying to force pars, which might sound stupid. But going for everything when you're in the trees or you've short-sided yourself can lead you to having really big scores. The sensible thing might be just to chip out, accept you're going to make a bogey, but know that you'll make a couple of birdies and it will balance out. If you go for that miracle shot and end up making a double or a triple, it's really hard to come back from that. Just take your medicine and get out of the trouble. Scratch golfers hit driver more often, and that's because they understand the importance of being further down the hole and how much it helps their scoring. Now, you might think they just hit driver more often because they hit it straighter, but actually they're only hitting 52% of fairways on average, but they are driving it 260 yards, which means their next shot is so much shorter that that's still an advantage even if they're in the rough. So if you want to lower your scores, there really is an advantage to 1, hitting your driver further, and 2, hitting it more often so you're as near to the green as possible. fairway hit. A big thing scratch golfers do that may sound silly is that they just manage their expectations better. Think about it, if scratch golfers are only hitting 62% of the greens, why do you beat yourself up when you miss a green? It's always going to happen. Golf is not a game of perfect, and it's impossible to hit every shot exactly as you want. So beating yourself up when something goes wrong is really more detrimental to your overall scoring. Now obviously you want to try and hit a good shot, but in your head you've got to know that bad shots are going to happen and just accept them when they come and don't worry about it too much. A big thing here is just to focus on each individual shot, executing it well, and don't worry too much about the result, because after all, it's an outside sport, we can't fully control it. When it comes to chipping, make sure you get your first chip shot on the green. Now that sounds stupid, but if you're short-sighted and you're in a tricky situation, it's really easy to go for that miracle shot, try play it perfectly, and leave it 2 feet in front of you, or thin it over the back of the green, and then you're just bringing double into the equation. So often you see people fluff their chips because they're trying so hard to hit a perfect shot into a tiny landing zone, rather than just worrying about getting the ball on the green in a general zone and then giving yourself a chance at the putt. This is massively quick down the hill, and I could attempt to play a really high flop shot and stop it quick in the bid to get it close, but it's just not the percentage shot, and it's probably going to leave me in more trouble than it will actually help. Get your first chip on the green and give yourself a decent look at par, but take that double bogey out of the equation.